Mac Jones. I At the beginning of the season, I was really high on Mac Jones, and in a lot of ways, I guess I still am. But right now, where I stand on Mac Jones is I am not so sure that he is the guy for the Patriots long term. And I know that that seems really, really harsh. And I also know that, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how Mac Jones, he needed more help. He's a good quarterback, whatever the case may be. I am just, I'm very flustered with Mac Jones right now. And I don't really know what I'm going to get out of him on a regular basis other than just not good enough. And that's what it has been all season long. And quite frankly, it's been not good enough for the entire Patriots offense. And we'll get into that in a minute. But for me, Mac Jones just has not proven anything to me, really. The big story was made in the offseason that he's gotten a lot more muscular, and his arm strength is there, and he's improved in terms of being able to throw the deep ball, and obviously first year to second year he's got a full year in the offense now, and he's gonna be ready to go. And he honestly looks worse, a lot worse than last year. Not really sure why that is. I do know that offensive line play has severely declined from last year. That's certainly a problem. And also, again, big stories coming out of Patriots camp is we don't really know who the offensive coordinator is. Is it Matt Patricia? Is it Joe Judge? Right now, it seems more like Matt Patricia is the offensive play caller, which I'm not so sure is great long-term for Mac Jones. But for me, the proof is in the pudding, and I want to go over some Mac Jones statistics right now for you. 68.2% completion percentage. That's pretty good, obviously. That's not, that's not anything to sneeze at. That's not anything to say that's bad, because that's actually pretty good. But quite frankly, when most of your passes are, 10 or less yards from the line of scrimmage, I would hope you'd be able to complete 65 to 70% of your passes as an NFL quarterback as well. So for me, that's not super impressive. 2,198 yards. Guys, we're 13 weeks in, 14 weeks in now. I'm recording this on Friday, December 16th. So in just a couple of days, we'll be in week 15. And Mac Jones just, he hasn't, that's just not good enough. Now, I know he missed a couple of games, obviously, right, with, Bailey Zappi taking over for a week or two there, but even then, 2,500 yards, even if he was at 2,500 yards or 2,600 yards, that's just not all that great for this point in the season. That's not going to do it. Right now, obviously, with the games he's played 12 games, I believe, at this point. Actually, maybe 11 games at this point. So, you're averaging not even 200 yards a game. And, even if he was a little bit above that, if he had played, the entire season, obviously, without missing those couple of games, if you're averaging 210 yards a game, that's just not good enough in today's NFL. You've got guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, obviously still Aaron Rodgers, although the Packers are having a pretty bad year. You got all these quarterbacks that are just slinging it. Joe Burrow, guys like that are slinging it. Justin Herbert. I could go on and on and on. But the point is, Mac Jones, if you're going to average 200 yards a game, then, that to me in the NFL, that's just not good enough unless you're running the ball for 200 yards a game as well, which the Patriots are not doing. Spoiler. So, again, that's not good enough for me, the yards. 7 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Never a good thing when you're throwing more picks than touchdowns. Never, 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 never. That has never once been a positive thing for a quarterback. Now, I know Jameis Winston, a few years back had the dubious honor of being the first quarterback ever to have 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in a season. Which, that's really impressive, quite frankly. But hey, guess what? At least he threw for 30 touchdowns. That's still, 180 points that the guy was caused with his arm directly. But Mac Jones, 7 touchdowns in 11 games. 7 touchdowns in 11 games, guys. That's atrocious. That's atrocious. I made fun of Zach Wilson for the amount of touchdowns he had coming into a couple of weeks ago. And Mac Jones, quite frankly, has been just as bad in that area. I mean, he really has. Maybe not quite as bad, but pretty much he's been horrible. I mean, he's been absolutely horrible. The Patriots' red zone struggles have been just absolutely incredible throughout the season. They've just been horrible in that area. And a lot of it is because I think teams know, one, the quarterback doesn't have a strong enough arm to fit it into tight windows. Two, the Patriots don't have enough weapons in the red zone to consistently get open to be a threat. And three, the only guys that are really going to score in the red zone for the Patriots are your running backs. So you just defend the run game in the red zone and you're fine. I mean, you're pretty much all good there. Now, obviously the Patriots right now are still above 500, and unless things changed on Thursday, which I'm not sure they did, the Patriots are still the final seed in the playoffs, which is just crazy because that means every team in the AFC other than the Jets right now is going to be in the playoffs. But obviously the Jets are tied for the same record as the Patriots, so they could easily get in as well. Point being, the Patriots haven't been playing horribly. They've been carried by their defense again this year. But when your quarterback is throwing more touchdowns and interceptions and you're 11 weeks in and you've thrown less than one touchdown a game, almost half of a touchdown a game, quite frankly, that's just not going to get it done. I mean, what do you expect to happen in the postseason? Are you going to beat a team 13-3 in the postseason with the way the AFC is going? Are you going to beat the Bills that way? The Dolphins that way? The Bengals that way? The Chiefs that way? No. You're going to have to put up 35, 40 points to have a chance. Look at the Chiefs and Bills divisional playoff game. Not even the AFC Championship game. The second round of the playoffs. Both teams had 40-plus points by the end of the game. And one of those teams that put up 40-plus points lost. Because that's how the AFC is. You have to be able to put up points. Now, that's not to say that you can't have a low-scoring game if you play in the AFC. Of course you can. But to just rely on that, it's not feasible long-term. It just isn't. Today in the NFL, it is completely different than it was in the mid-2000s when the Patriots could rely on their defense to only keep that team to 14, 20 points a game. You could rely on that back then, but in today's game, there's just too many weapons, too many great quarterbacks, especially in the AFC right now. I mean, again, defense, while it is vital to your team's success, of course, offense is what runs the game now. As much as I don't like it as a fan, I am one of the weird guys that loves defensive games. I'm one of those guys that, 2 years in a row, right? The Patriots were in the Super Bowl a few years back. They played the Eagles. Tom Brady threw for 500-plus yards. Nick Foles threw for 500 yards. It was just ridiculous. It was just a complete shootout. There was no defense played whatsoever. I was bored. Because it's like, well, there's no suspense. To me, there's no suspense when it's just offense. It's just, you're just slinging the balls all over the place, right? And for me, that's not exciting. Now, it's fun, I guess, in terms of that guy scored, and then the fans go nuts. That's cool. But for me, it's not a suspenseful, interesting football game if both teams are just going back and forth and there's no defense whatsoever. I much prefer defensive games. And luckily for me, the next year, the whole universe said that the Patriots-Rams Super Bowl was boring. I was having a great time. And the reason for that is in those kinds of games, one touchdown, can mean that your team wins. Could just turn the whole game upside down. It could mean the the nail in your coffin and death to you, or it could mean you're going to definitely win the Super Bowl in those moments. To me, that's suspenseful. When every single possession you are hanging in the balance and something needs to give. If you score a touchdown, you're probably going to win the game. To me, that is exciting. Now, it's not like that for every sport, right? I can't stand basketball games that are 88-85 or baseball games that end in 1-0. That's boring, right? But for me, there's something about a defensive football game that I just love. So, again, Unpopular opinion, I'm well aware, but let me love football the way I love it, right? So for me, as vital as defense is right now, I just don't think you can rely on that every night when you're going to play, especially in the playoffs. I just listed the cavalcade of teams that you're going to have to face if you make the playoffs, right? You're probably going to have to face a combination, or at least one of these teams, right? You're going to have to face the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Chargers. You're going to have to face one of these teams in order to advance if you're the last seed in the playoffs. Whoever's going to be the first seed, my guess is it's probably going to be the Chiefs. And if you're going to face the Chiefs, you really think you're going to stop that offense and they're only going to score 2 touchdowns? No, it's not going to happen. Not with that offense. No, there's no way. Or at least if it happened, I would be floored if that happened. So I can't rely on that. You have to, in some ways, at least be capable of putting up 35 points in a game with your quarterback, and not just by your defense getting turnovers or you winning the field position battle. And all that's important, absolutely. But you still your offense has to be able to stand on its own and be successful in the playoffs. It just has to. And right now, I just don't see that. Some more stats for you. Mac Jones has a quarterback rating, a QBR, of 33.8. That is 28th in the NFL. That's obviously not great considering there are 32 starting quarterbacks. So, for me, that just ain't going to cut it. Again, when you're bottom 5 in the NFL in quarterback rating and your team is above 500, first of all, that just shows you how incredible the defense has been. But second of all, imagine what your team could be if you actually had good, fun quarterback play. Just imagine. 85.7 passer rating. All right? Now, for those of you who don't really, know what passer rating is in terms of like the rankings and everything and kind of, what the numbers mean, because I'm kind of in that boat. Like when I just see a number, if somebody says, this guy has a 91 passer rating, I'm like, that's probably pretty good, but I don't know for sure. So I looked it up. As of right now, in the company of what I deem to be starting caliber quarterbacks, or at least this year, right, that guys have played enough to really have a great sample size as to what kind of a year they're going to have, Mac Jones ranks, once again, 28th in the NFL in passer rating among starting quarterbacks. The only guys that he is in front of right now are Russell Wilson, who has had a historically bad season, especially for him. Justin Fields, whose team is basically made up of a bunch of cardboard boxes that don't know how to play. Matt Ryan, whose offensive line is made up of a bunch of cardboard boxes that don't know how to play. And Quentin Nelson, who is still amazing, but everybody else is a cardboard box right now. And Davis Mills, who is playing for the 1-win Houston Texans. So, and you know what? If you wanted to throw Kenny Pickett in there, let's say Mac Jones is 27th. Kenny Pickett has had a horrible year, but he's also been in and out of the lineup. He's also been injured, and he's also a rookie, and the Steelers are terrible. So I don't even feel like it's fair to include Kenny Pickett in this because he'd be by far the worst quarterback that has played starter-type minutes. You know what I mean? So for me, I'm more comfortable saying 28th. But if you want to say 27th, just to be fair, I guess, fine. He's the 5th worst quarterback in the NFL. Great, in terms of starters. So you look at these stats, and it just paints a picture, of just mediocrity. And quite frankly, not even mediocrity, of just poor play. Not even mediocre play. Just really, really bad football. And that's what Mac Jones has been playing this year. Now, there's been times where he's looked good. He threw for a lot of yards and a couple of touchdowns against the Vikings. That's nice. And unfortunately, that was the one time his defense didn't really have a great day. So you could kind of say Mac Jones played well that day. But all the other games, basically, that he's been a part of this year, he hasn't played very well. So every week, instead of me looking forward to watching the Patriots, I find myself wishing that they were on defense more than they were on offense. And anybody who's watched football for a number of years knows, chances are you're not going to score any points on defense. So when you're rooting for your defense to be on the field, when barring, a fumble that gets returned for a touchdown like Raekwon McMillan had last week, or a pick six like Jack Jones has had a couple of those this year, barring that circumstance, you're not, the much greater likelihood when your team is on defense is you're going to give up points. You're going to have less of a chance to win the game when your team is on defense. But for the Patriots, it seems like their best chance of scoring on a week-to-week basis is if their defense scores. Because their offense just can't do anything. And even when they do move the ball, they can't get in the end zone. They don't score because no one can get open. Mac Jones doesn't have that crazy arm to be able to throw it into double coverage or throw it past linebackers in the red zone. When your defense is crunched up like that and you don't have to worry about, spreading out your defense, you can really be in a confined space. There's not a lot of room to fit the football. You have to be able to create plays outside the pocket and get the defense scrambling, or you have to be able to fit the ball in the tight windows sometimes. Mac Jones does neither. He does neither. Now, you could say what you want about Tom Brady and his lack of mobility, but he had plenty of arm strength to fit it into tight spaces. And plus, I guess having Gronk for a number of years helped as well. But the point is, Mac just doesn't seem to have those skills right now. I'm not saying he can't develop into that, but I just don't see it right now. I mean, can any of us that have watched football and that understand who Mac Jones is and that have watched the Patriots over the last handful of years, 2 years, obviously, with Mac Jones, can any of us really see Mac Jones turning into somebody who could just bomb the ball 70 yards down the field? I don't think so. I really just don't think so. Now, again, you can say what you want about Tom Brady, but he could throw the ball deep. He could. Look at when he had Randy Moss in 2007. He was throwing deep all the time. Accurately. Efficiently. Deadly. That's why he broke the touchdown record at the time. Because you gave Tom Brady an actual deep weapon for once, and he showed you that he could do it. Mac Jones, you've given him some deep weapons. You've given him a guy like Devontae Parker and Nelson Aguilar, guys that are supposed to be speedsters that can burn, and quite frankly, I don't think he could give him the ball if he wanted to. I really don't. I don't think that Mac Jones could get the ball there consistently, even if he wanted to. Even if those guys were getting open more often. I just don't see it. He's flashed some great plays, and he's still very young. He's a first-round pick for a reason. I'm not giving up on Mac Jones. I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying that I'm just done with Mac Jones. They should trade him or release him. No. But right now, I'm starting to get worried. And I am not 100% certain that Mac Jones is the guy right now for the Patriots long term. Hey guys, me again. Thank you so much for watching one of my clips from the Lopes Goes Last podcast. These clips are so much fun to do. I absolutely love making them, and I absolutely love doing them. And this podcast is my baby, so I really want this thing to grow, and I really want it to succeed. So if you did like what you see, please subscribe. Also hit that bell notification so you never miss any one of my episodes or one of my clips like this one. And please do also like and share these videos with your friends and your family so that we can make this thing grow as fast as possible. And I wanted to thank you again so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have a great rest of your day.